judgment. There is compression of time to value. Um, uh, so we are putting it around, 3 zones of saying the compression zones, the productivity zones, and the expansion zones. So we see work getting remodeled around these, and we're seeing a lot of organizations already doing it, right? And is there a playbook right now that, as everyone know, anyone cracked it? No, definitely no. But we're all in that learning process, and we definitely seeing models that are emerging. But having said that, like you mentioned, right, opportunities are big, but opportunities are evolving, and there will be considerations into that. So we will see that there's more, focus on how this whole thing is panning out in terms of culture, change, and adoption. Ethics, risk, and compliance will play a huge, huge role, right? And also, I want to end by saying that this is for every individual and emotional journey as well, right? This has a huge amount of unlearning first and then relearning. So how we look at it as individuals and as organizations, and that's why the culture component becomes so important for every organization, to say how are we enabling every individual to unlearn first and then relearn. And I think that if that we figure out eventually in a few years, I think that's where we will be.
Wonderful, Kritika. Thank you very much. See, we talked so far, the industry, not just IT industry, by and large, every industry sort of works on the paradigm of looking at the education background of individuals when they hire. And once the person is onboarded, it's all about the certifications, recertifications, that the whole paradigm in terms of how we, with no disrespect, sort of judge a person's capability to map to a requirement, right? Now, Dr. Aparna Gupta, you've been with the academics and research for a long time. So far, when you talk about education and certificate, right, it's more in terms of at a point in time is what it is. But going forward in this new era of how we're evolving and the expectation of the skills becoming more fungible, more sort of transferable and whatnot, we're no more talking about education and certifications as a point in time, but we would love to see it as a stream. And therefore, from that paradigm, of course, we earlier heard from the IIT Kanpur dean as well. So what are your thoughts in terms of how the education institutions, the academia, can start, well, to put it in a, well, let's say, to reinvent or evolve themselves, to sort of, align with the industry requirements of a skill-focused approach and a more evolving stream of skills as opposed to point solutions?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me on this panel. I'm kind of bringing the academia angle as well as the government angle and how those two connect, which is obviously very relevant for all the themes of discussion we will have today, and specifically for the question that you're asking, what is the skilling skin in the game of all the enterprises? And what role a specific sector can play in that skilling journey? And the fact that if the universe is changing so rapidly, what that ongoing lifelong learning role can be. So being an academic with more than 2 decades of experience, that is really a story starter at the universities. Are our curriculum really getting designed for the dynamic changes in the environment, which is also getting very globally connected, as you mentioned? And I'm happy that you mentioned utopic aspiration, but obviously a utopic aspiration requires a lot of utopic lineup towards that aspiration and a very collective effort. So to come to your question about certification, that is a very one-off thing, but to bring it in a more global end-to-end provision, all the entities have to play a role. And that's why I want to roll it back to the academic institutions in India and everywhere else in terms of how are we preparing the workforce to be inclined and prepared to be a lifelong learner with the basic seeding of inquisitiveness, and then the provisions that the universities themselves can create for remaining a lifelong learner, and all the certification institutions that can contribute to that. In the prior discussion, I was very happy to hear that this is not just a services story or not just an AI story. I know we are all very conditioned by the AI summit. that wrapped up last week, less than a week ago. So it's very fair for us to be very wrapped up in that. The excitement was absolutely on top of the roof. But essentially, really packaging this in a broader spectrum, our IITs and IIT Kanpur specifically has a lot of investment in innovation that can be grown for products beyond just services and then even narrowing down to AI. So my point here is that the certification entities it's a call to the certification entities to create offers that are more lifelong learning and revalidation and nimbleness seeding to update skills. And I'm really very passionate about that being very experiential in opening the arena of experiencing what the future might look like by cross-sector, cross-country collaborations perhaps. But this is all utopic, but that's the journey we can hope to carve out.
Wonderful, Dr. Gupta. Thank you very much. I think that's pretty much all from the industry as well. We're looking for how do we kind of move learning more towards more of experiential learning and experimental learning. Thank you very much. Vikas, I'll just jump out, Richa, and come back to you, okay? So, Richa, you have a strong background in HR and business, right? So what I would like you to dwell upon is that we're talking about potentially moving towards skill cloud, right? Where the whole people who will come with skills are going to be assembled, deployed, and disassembled based on tasks or work, right? So in a true sense, the concept of motivation, the concept of belongingness to a team or belongings to a business unit or a division at all are going to become far more fluid in the future world as we sort of are looking at, right? So from a people angle, can you dwell upon what do you think it will mean in terms of how individuals respond to that and therefore what organizations should adapt in their organization culture and human resource practices?
Sure. And again, very happy to be here. Thank you to the IIT Kanpur team for inviting me for panel discussion, and thank you fellow panel members as well. Bipin, I would start with the point, and especially because of the generational shift, the technological shift, political shift, economical shift that we all are seeing, we are at an inflection point where, as an organization, we need to think about the operating models itself, right? We need to understand that is your employee associate themselves with the team and function they belong to, or do you want to connect your employees to the purpose, right? Just to give you an example, recently in US, if some of you are belonging to the industry and the organizations which operate in US, there was a huge winter storm. And we are a tools and equipment company. We sell a lot of equipments which help weather these storms, like your generator, pressure washers, pumps, etc. That storm brings an opportunity for us to serve our customers at the time of need, respond very, very quickly by mobilizing our equipments in the stores, be available to deliver at a point where nobody is ready to deliver, right? Now, what does it mean for our employees? Can we work in the traditional silos of our functions, or do we need to come together as process experts, as experts who can predict better the demand, the kind of demand that gets generated during these unique times, and connect the whole team with that purpose and deliver that and come out, right? So I am getting to your point in a roundabout manner that what is more important for the organization at this point of time is associating the belonging with the purpose, connecting and bringing the teams together for these projects which are very purpose-oriented for the organization, be it a modernization of a legacy system, be it modernizing the way we do inventory forecasting. Instead of relying on inventory expert, in one of our another example, with the help of AI, we identified who are those individuals who might be probably already using some advanced Excel-based forecasting techniques, and can we give them pockets of learning, micro-learning modules, train them on demand forecasting methodologies and use them instead of hiring an inventory forecasting expert from outside. Now, another point, and I'll finish, how AI should be used as an enabler by the organization is when we rely on individual managers or HR partners to unlock these nodes where, okay, this individual has this additional capability versus AI is being able to scan your talent across the organization and find some of those hidden gems. So that is where I would add is the shift has to happen from my team, my function to what is the purpose of the organization and the project, pretty similar to what we see in movie